The Child of the Stage, Baltimore, 1838-1855. John Wilkes Booth was born into a family of artists, amidst the glow of stage lights and the shadows cast by his father's tormented soul. Junius Brutus Booth, a great man, but deeply mad. John grew up with Shakespeare's lines echoing in his ears, learning to lose himself in characters, especially the villains. From a young age, he didn't live his own life. He lived through roles. In his heart, Brutus, the man who killed Caesar, was the true hero, the artist and the cold-blooded dreamer. 1855, 1864. John stepped onto the stage like a star. He was handsome, charismatic, with venom quietly pulsing through his heart, an actor capable of both enchantment and obsession. But when the Civil War erupted, Booth's true face was revealed. He hated Lincoln, loathed the idea of freeing the slaves, and saw the president as a tyrant who had to be punished. In his mind, life was no longer real. It was a grand tragedy, and he would be the one holding the knife at the final act. The Bloody Play, a conspiracy in the shadows, early 1865. Booth and his co-conspirators planned to kidnap Lincoln, but the plan failed. Infuriated, he shifted from abduction to assassination. He no longer wished to alter history, he wanted to rewrite it in blood. In the days before the assassination, he wrote in his journal, spoke to his dagger and pistol as if they were fellow actors, preparing for the leading role of his lifetime. Laughter and a gunshot. Ford's Theater, April 14, 1865. That night, Washington was draped in celebration. The war had ended, the people sang in the streets, and President Abraham Lincoln wanted to enjoy a quiet evening with his beloved wife. Ford's Theater was showing Our American Cousin, a light-hearted comedy to help a wounded nation smile again. But in that night of joy, a man waited in the shadows to pull the curtain on history. John Wilkes Booth, the famed actor once cheered on this very stage, slipped into the theater like a ghost. He had walked these halls in hundreds of performances, and now he returned as a funeral conductor for a play written in blood. In his pocket, a tiny Derringer pistol of 44 caliber. On his hip, a dagger, its blade gleaming like a serpent's tooth. In his heart, blazing hatred and a twisted belief that he was doing the right thing. 10:14 p.m. He approached the door to the president's box. 10:15. Laughter exploded from the crowd. Lincoln smiled. Booth opened the door, silent as a shadow. One step, two. No one turned. No one suspected. He raised the gun. No hesitation. No trembling. A single shot rang out, softer than applause, but enough to shatter the spine of a nation. Lincoln slumped forward, blood soaking through his coat. Mary Todd Lincoln screamed in horror. Booth leapt from the balcony, sat crashing to the stage, his legs snapping on impact. He rose, burning with adrenaline, and shouted, "Sic semper tyrannis! Thus always to tyrants!" The audience thought it was part of the show, a dramatic scene, but the scent of blood was real, and horror began to spread like wildfire. Booth limped off stage through the wings, his shadow flickering across the curtains, like a monster crawling from a nightmare he had written himself. 12 Nights of Darkness. The Fugitives Road, April 15th, 26, 1865. Booth fled with his accomplice, David Herold. He vanished into swamps and forests, dragging a shattered leg, a feverish body, and a journal filled with madness. He hoped to be hailed as a hero, but was met only with silence, fear, and betrayal. At night, he claimed to hear Lincoln calling his name through fire. Though not yet dead, Booth had already begun to decay from within. The burning barn and the final shot. Garrett's Farm, April 26th, 1865. 12 days of running turned Booth into a living ghost. Broken foot, raging fever, bloodshot eyes. He hid in barns, stables, cold swamps, and delusions. Each night he muttered old Shakespearean lines as if still on stage for an invisible crowd. And then came the fateful night. Union soldiers tracked him to an old tobacco barn on Richard Garrett's farm in Virginia. Booth and Harold hid inside, surrounded by rotting hay and the smell of death. "Surrender, Booth!" a soldier shouted. "We'll spare your life if you come out." But Booth had no desire to live. He wanted his final act, on his own stage. "I won't come out," he growled. "Better to die than be dragged like a beast." They set the barn ablaze. Red light consumed everything. The hay crackled like fake applause. Smoke coiled upwards, the flames lighting him like a final spotlight. Booth stood, swaying like a ghost, hair damp, face hollow, lips cracked, holding an empty pistol. He stepped into the fire, like a man bowing to his last audience. A shot rang out. No one knows which soldier fired. The bullet pierced Booth's neck, not killing him instantly, but leaving him gasping on his own blood. He collapsed, wide-eyed, staring at the burning ceiling. His final words were not of anger, not of glory, only a broken whisper. "Tell my mother that I died, like a man." And thus the curtain closed forever. No applause, no encore, no audience, only ash. And a name, buried in blood-stained pages of history. History shows no mercy after death. Booth was never put on trial. No defense, no final speech, only curses. His body was hidden, his name erased from the theater's walls. But Booth's shadow still lingers at Ford's Theater to this day. What was he? An artist? A murderer? Or just a madman who believed history was his stage?